Hi, welcome to Radio.
Hey, good morning,
I'm Reverend Rich. This is Reverend.
Reverend Paul. Hey,
And this is Prayers Radio Conversations. And this show is only about prayer. And it's
affirmative prayer.
so it's interesting. We had a guest this morning, but you know what? Life happens, Paul. You and I talking about this. I said, why don't we just do a conversation show? And a lot of times we invite our guests. We have them like pre-scheduled out for months in advance. A lot of times, some aren't, some are. But what happens is that life happens a lot of times. And when life happens, what do? Well, you adjust. You just say, okay, this just happened to me, and I don't know what I'm doing or why. But I'm going to have Paul pray us in because I just talked a lot, and he needs to talk more.
And when life happens, what do? We go into prayer. So I invite you to close your eyes right here, right now. And as we close our eyes, it's a reminder that all the power that there is starts from within. And know with me that there is that one power, that one presence, that one life, that one mind, that one heart, beating through, in, and as all of creation. It is the sunshine warm on our face. It's that gentle breeze going by. It's that small fledgling hopping to the edge of its nest, unfurling its wings and taking its first flight. This is the divine through, in, and as everything. And as I know it's true for that fledgling, I know it's true for Rich and myself and our audience right here, right now, that the divine is working itself through, in, and as each one of us, perfectly individualized of who we are. And we get to choose that at every moment, every instant. And so knowing that, I just invoke the divine spirit within each one of us. Invoke that divine consciousness of who we are right here and right now. Letting the show open up to all the infinite possibilities that spirit is. And knowing that it is going to be perfect. It is perfect. It is now perfect. And I just release it, let it go, and so it is.
So it is. Wonderfully done. Well, we are having a pre-conversation, which we now call the green room, because one of our guests said, "Oh, it's the green room," and I'm like, "Huh?" Paul goes, "It's now the green room."
It's the green room.
So the reason why I bring that up is because a lot of times we have guests on, and they're thinking, "Oh, we're just going to throw you on there." You're going to be going, "No, no." One of the biggest challenges people have, I said challenges and not fear, that people have is that, they're afraid of public speaking or being put out there. A lot of times we tell people that are on our show that, you have the option to, listen to it beforehand before we could, but the live show is going to be live, but we are live and, this is fun. Every guest we've had said it's been fun. What do you think, Paul?
You ever guess? I mean, there's some intimidation at first, and that's only in their head. But once we can relax and know into spirit, then that takes over.
It's fun doing this show. We just have a good time. I mean, what is this, show 48? Oh my God.
Yeah. And since we had a last minute cancellation today, we thought we'd just be talking about our own questions and posing them to one another. Like, how does spirit show up? How does prayer show up? What's the manifestation that we both have? And as we share that with you, then other people viewing our show will be less intimidated and more welcoming to come on. What do you think,
Well,
Rich?
I think too that the process of having reverends and practitioners on, which we basically do science of mind practitioners and reverends only, because we want to make sure that the show stays with that, because that's what we are, that's what we do. The takeaway is that when you're invited on the show, it's we send you over the questions already, which are all about prayer and all about what we're going to talk about, and then we ad lib a little bit of it. Actually, we ad lib a lot of it, don't we, Paul? They're like, "Oh, we already asked that." Well, on the side, you asked that question a different way, and you answered it a different way. The interesting part, I think, that we have is that when the questions are asked, we make sure that what the questions are ahead of time, and we actually send a video that has those questions and us asking it, so you're not going, "Oh God, what am I doing?" As a reverend, you're out there talking to people, you're out there speaking with them. Not every reverend talks in front of a pulpit or if you will, anything. Some of our guests have actually had their own shows, where they actually don't have a live giant audience or a place that they physically go to. And now in the 21st century, with the advent of Zoom and all these other things that are going on, the whole gamut of how philosophy and speech and church, even we had our guest before that was on Toastmasters, and I said, well, I've been on Toastmasters since 2021. This has been a long time, but you learn how to talk in front of an audience. And she had said, you should do that. You should do that. And I'm suggesting you do that too. I mean, if you're challenged on that, just go in and try that. But go and do the live one. I mean, the Zoom ones are all fine and dandy, but we're in a box, and it's always not that fun being in a box because you don't get the actual gamut of your body being talking and in that nonverbal communication going through. As I think Steiner was somebody that read about that years ago. That she talked about nonverbal communications and how you present your body and your mind out to the public, and then people make judgments on you within the first few seconds, just how you're dressed and how you look and how you talk. Now, we don't want to think that, but there are statistics on it. So the questions, go ahead.
And when you come on the show, it's a good opportunity for you to say yes to Spirit, because if we're all in the one mind, which we are, then we are all individualizing that one mind perfectly. And this is a good opportunity to come on just to put aside any of the doubts, the fears, and bring Spirit into it more.
You also have to look at it too, is that if you're in this philosophy and you're trying to talk at other centers or other places of worship, that it allows you to sort of give them a calling card. Hey, I was on this show. Because a lot of people don't get the opportunity to be on a live show that's, we've had some pretty famous people, and we have some pretty famous people coming on, and then everybody has their own genre and way they present themselves in this universe and in this world. And you're not going to resonate with every audience, but you are going to resonate with many.
And you're going to resonate with Spirit once you let go and let Spirit.
That's right. Spirit guides us to those specific things that we need to do, and guides us, says, would you like to do this? Even a prayer that we have, we recognize that God is all there is. We unify with that presence that is God. We declare whole, perfect, and complete, that perfection that is ourselves. And then we declare what we are, not what we want to be, what we can be, but we
right.
we
Go ahead. We declare our intention into the law.
Exactly.
And the law always says yes.
The law always says yes, even with the 5-step prayer. And then we give thanks and we release it into the law. Simple, and it works, and it is a practice, isn't it, Paul?
So today we're going to ask each other the same questions that we would ask the guests that we would have on.
All right, go for it. Do you want to go to the first one?
So what tangible results have you had through prayer, Rich?
Ooh. Well, it's been a journey for myself. I use prayer almost every single minute of the day when I'm thinking about something, because if my thoughts are fleeting or just flopping out there, I actually ask myself, what do I want? And then I pause for a moment, and then I do a prayer for that, because I sort of get off track if I don't do that. The tangible results I've seen is that those clarity moments come into play of what I want to do and what I should do and how I should do it. And then I'll actually, at least for myself, I'll have a notepad or something next to me when I'm doing that prayer for clarity. And I usually get those tangible results, and I'll just write them down as I'm going. Because a lot of times I myself, I like to think I'm pretty much structured on stuff. I was in the Army and things like that. So I got some type of structural background. And, working with other people and other things and other projects. But I like to know that there's universal all that God self is in me that's actually manifesting and saying, yeah, you asked for it, so here it is.
And our last guest, Reverend Marilyn, she said to write down your demonstrations. When it comes up, we can have a book, then we can go back to say, yes, Spirit was right there.
Absolutely. So, Paul, what tangible results have you seen from prayer?
Well, this is interesting. I have an older brother I reached out to a few times, and he wasn't responding. And so my partner and I went into prayer knowing that he would respond. But the time we finished the prayer, he had called me up, and not just called me up. I'm like, "Hey, Gare, what's up?" He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I butt dialed you. I didn't mean to." Now, did he really mean to, or was that prayer coming through? For me, that was a tangible result of the prayer we just spoke. Even though he thought it was a butt dial, that was spirit getting in there and saying, "This is it. This is what you wanted." It was
Hmm.
perfect.
I like that. You actually put it out to the universe, and that's the tangible result that you got.
And we know it
Now,
as spirit. They may know it as a butt dial.
that works. The one of the interesting things that we have to that I at least I'm looking at when we're asking these questions is that you come with your original self. I mean, Paul just we asked the question, it came into his mind. Oh, this would be tangible. This would be result oriented. I'm I'm when I'm doing things, I'm sort of like, well, what do I want to accomplish? So that's sort of that boom 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 mind, and then even with spirit stuff, the butt dial comes into play because a lot of times people won't understand that prayer that's manifested and how it
Hmm.
manifests. Oh, it was just happenstance. Well, everything is within the mind of God. True?
Right. And they say coincidences are co-creating the incident. So you and spirit are the one.
Ooh, that's a tweetable moment, right?
Yeah. So yes,
What?
everything's coincidence, but it's co-creating the incident with spirit.
Yeah, we in our previous shows we talked about the dictionary. We talked about our own minds being the actual thing. So when we do prayer, it goes from us, through us, and out to the universe and ripples out. And our minds are the only minds that change with prayers. We already know that. But
Mm.
the how do you stay grounded in prayer for
Well,
you?
prayer is my grounding. That is what I go to ground. And so I wake up in the morning, start with a little inspirational talk, usually Reverend Arlene Rosebump. You can find her online. A little meditation, starting my day, knowing that everything is being perfectly projected forward, that everything
Mm.
that I'm doing, saying, feeling, being is spirit guiding me. And when you start your day like that, I mean, hello.
So ask me the question now.
So, how do you start your day, Rich, with prayer?
Well, the first thing I do in the morning is I actually do a prayer. Sometimes I don't sleep that well, sometimes I do. And when I wake up, I ask myself and do a prayer at that specific time to ground myself in spirit. I think it's important that a lot of times, at least for myself, I'm like, I don't know what I want, but God does. God knows what you want.
Mm.
And God says, well, you have a mind. You are the mind of God because you're the individualized expression of God manifesting itself through the universe. Because you're allowing yourself to think. If you didn't have a thought, you wouldn't be a thought. Ooh, that's tweetable.
Mm.
Anyways, the how I stay grounded in prayer is I wake up in the morning real early before the birds, and I do my prayer. That's the first thing I do is when I wake up is I do a prayer. I thank the universe. I thank God. Uh, I there's a prayer list that we have at our center, and there's a bunch of people that I just do prayer work for. Then I remind myself that they're whole, perfect, and complete, and that those projects are also there. When I stay grounded in prayer, I am a lot more grounded. When I forget to do the prayer, then I feel like squirrel, squirrel.
And that's a good remembrance of doing the prayer. Like we get the squirrel in our head, we're like, oh, go to prayer.
Right, right. And it doesn't help. It doesn't hurt to have dogs that look at you and say, "Okay, you're up now. Let's go, buddy. Let's go." So, how do you prep your day? I mean, how do you do this for yourself?
Oh, that's what I said. I go into meditation. I get up. I listen to something spiritual. I might read a book. I might listen to a podcast, and that's beginning of my day. That's seeding my day. Getting
Mm.
up and Reverend Arlene Rosebump once gave a talk, and she said, she wakes up in the morning, she looks in the mirror, and she goes, "Okay, God, what do you want me to do today?" And she hears, "Okay, Arlene, it's God. What do you want to do today?" And that's perfect. When we know we are that presence and the power of spirit, there's nothing that can stop us.
There is absolutely nothing that can stop you with that. God can't do what?
Yeah.
So I guess how I prep myself for the day, I think, I lay out everything the night before. I think that's important. But then
Can
again,
you
like
say
we
more?
found out,
Can you say
go
more
ahead.
about that?
Well, I was. I mean, what it is that I'll lay out what I need to do, and I try to pre-prep the day before the night before, and then everything's already set up. I know what I'm going to do. I know what I have to do. I have everything lined up that I have to do because I don't want to think about it in the morning. And then when I get up in the morning, I'll look at my day and see what's going on. Like this morning, we had a guest that couldn't make it because of family issues and things that were going on. And that's, hey, welcome to life. It changes. It always changes. And that's the one thing that we can count on is change in our lives. And basically it's spirit moving yourself around and saying, oh, well, maybe you should try something different. And then Paul I got in a conversation on this, and the day has already changed. And so what I had written here has changed. And that's fine because I'm able to adjust with it. And just having an outline of what I want to accomplish versus not having anything, squirrel, squirrel, squirrel.
Mm.
That gives you the option to actually make changes in your life because you know what you want to accomplish, at least for me, because I'm speaking about me. But it gives you the opportunity to make those changes in your life that you want. Okay, I know I have to do, and these are the things I would like to do, because you do have to have a like to do and have to do list. Have to go to the bathroom, have to, have some, beverage in the morning, have to drink water. How about you, Paul? How do you prep for your day besides that? How do you do it for yourself?
Well, when you were saying that, it came up, we have a choice of either being in the effect or being the cause. Which do
Perfect.
you want to be? I want to be the cause. So the effect means nothing to me. I know in my mind and my heart, I declare it into being, and it happens. How many times do we choose unconsciously to be in the effect? And then how do we get out of that? How would you get out of that, Rich, if you're in the effect?
Well, the thing I have to look at is that when I get in that spot where my brain is just like going, I have some challenges or I'm running old scripts. We've
Mm.
heard of those old scripts that we all run that, oh, okay, you have to do this. And oh, this person said that and I have to snap that. I have to step back a minute. I have to step back and say, is that serving me?
Mm.
Is that serving everybody around me? Is that serving what I'm trying to accomplish in my world? So did that answer your question or am I just
Yeah, yeah, that's perfect.
okay? So what, when you have those triggers yourself or challenges, what do you do?
Oh, I might have a tantrum, but then I go into prayer. I may show that ego part of me that may rise up more, and then I'm more aware of it as it's rising up. Oh, this isn't who I
What do you mean you're human?
am. Exactly. Especially when one's driving a car and you
Oh
see the
yeah.
other people that aren't driving the way you want them to drive. And they may be in a hurry. They may be something that you don't know what's going on in their life, and just let it be. And
Hmm.
just making somebody else's day with that may be the whole turning point for their day. Letting
So
somebody
you
cut
adjust,
in between.
yeah, you adjust your day for it. You adjust what you're thinking about. I think Jim said when he was on Jim Terrell, he said, if he goes by and he says maybe they need to go somewhere faster, or maybe they need to have a better blessed day, or they're,
Hmm.
God bless them on their journey. We all have the, it's no, 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 no. That's a script or something that's going in your head. Okay. I was driving traffic last night. Same thing. The people just going by and, I think they're watching Nintendo or something. You remember Nintendo, the Mario Karts? I'm like, dude, this is like the actual thing. But go on with what you're saying. I sort of jumped off on the subject there.
Yeah, even if you're stuck in traffic. Like a few weeks ago, we were stuck in a flood on Route 101 here. And so instead of getting really angst, which we started to do, we thought we have this beautiful time together to talk about stuff. Let's talk
Mm,
about things. And that was beautiful because that was spirit for me giving us this downtime now to talk and communicate better.
I
Every
think that's
moment is a moment in spirit. Every moment is an opportunity to connect. And even if you're connected, you can reconnect, you can connect deeper.
So that goes back to the philosophy word is change your mind, change your life.
Yeah, change your mind, change your thinking, your life changes. Everything that you think and feel is out picturing perfectly. If you take a snapshot of where you are now, that's exactly what you were feeling before.
There's I don't know if any of a lot of our audience probably does some type of goals or journaling where they write down what they want to accomplish. I know some people do like dream boards where they, take
Mm,
pictures of things they want or off the internet, they put it on there. Our previous guest talked about mental equivalence,
mm.
and that mental equivalence, uh, you know, if you're not focusing on what you do want, then the universe will provide you something you don't want because you
Right,
didn't choose.
exactly.
So yeah, that's something that you should look at as I wrote that in my book, The Default Prayer, and I was like, oh, okay, this makes sense. But if you don't do something, somebody will give you something to do or make sure you do something, whether it's, that we talked about the monk on the mountain and stuff. That person's going through all sorts of different places, but he physically doesn't go anywhere because he's chosen to meditate there and stay there. But in his mind, he's going everywhere. You make a choice of what you want to have. You make a choice of how you're doing it. And that's what this whole talk that we're having is about, the talk that we're having, and when we actually ask people questions. Um,
So how have your prayers evolved over time, Rich?
oh, uh, yeah, I've talked about the different philosophies that I've in, or some of them. I really haven't talked about all of them because we all go. Went through my experimentation period on this stuff to find out
Mm,
what I found that works and doesn't work. And then I went to Reverend Peggy Bassett's church over in Huntington Beach for a little bit, and then I went to the service and I found out they have chaplains that have all these different types of philosophies that they're open to because everybody's different philosophies in our country, or you have a different belief system whether you're spiritual or otherwise. And I went through that path to find it out and tested a lot of different philosophy, and I found good in all of them, to be quite frank.
mm.
um, what was the question?
Your evolving prayers, how have they evolved over time?
I asked that because some of our audience thinks, oh, we can't, there's not a mistake, it's just give me some clarity.
Mm,
So the clarity is that what I got is that over time I found that, at least for me, science of mind actually allows me to be any of those philosophies or use any of those philosophies and still live in principle, which we are based on principles. There's no dogma and creed inside of the philosophy. And over time it evolved to the point where I found the best of everything that I want to use, and I use those things. I apply prayer in every aspect of my life, so it's changed. There was a time in my life where I was in a bunker or inside of a place where I couldn't go anywhere. I'm not going to go into that. You can read my book. When I was in the service, and I clicked my heels 3 times. There's no place like home. That didn't work. I begged God. That didn't work. And finally, I just surrendered and said, "Okay, where are
mm.
we going? Where are we going? Nothing I can do about this." So, take me now, that type of thing where you're just like, okay, whatever. And then you get, at least for myself, I got to a point where my prayer evolved where I'm like, no, I have a choice to do that. I have a choice to allow myself to release it into law, not being living in expectation or expectancy, but knowing that
Mm,
the universe will actually take care of those things that I have no control over and will give me the highest and greatest good. Now, the universe does not know at all what no is. It just hears you. Oh, you want this because you're bringing it. Because at least for my mind, when I actually do a prayer, I have to realize that I have to realize what I don't want to actually realize what I do want. But I try to leave that
mm,
want step out there because I'm manifesting that in my mind, and then I'm putting in the do want in there already.
mm.
So if I go with what I do want, then I'm not putting the negation part in there. How about yourself, Paul?
Well, I grew up Catholic, and we were taught beseeching prayers, like beseeching to God what you want, which is ironic because the master teacher Jesus always said it's done to you as you believe.
Mm-mm.
So as I got into this philosophy of science of mind, I realized the power of knowing Not the power of beseeching, but the power of knowing in your prayer is what brings it together. As you said, the mental equivalence before, and what you just said now, if I know I don't want something, then I know the opposite of that. I know what I do want, and I focus on that. I make a mental equivalent. As Ernest Holmes said, our words are the mold behind the feeling and the thought that we have. So I'm
Hmm.
creating that mold with my feelings and thought and releasing it, declaring it into the law, knowing the law is always saying yes, as you said.
Oh yeah.
So I
Oh,
went from a beseeching prayer growing up as a young kid to now a knowing prayer. What do I know for myself? You know, all the attributes of spirit, the power, the presence, the joy, the beauty, the love, the light, and bring that into your prayer. Bring that into our prayer.
now we remember that when we do the prayer, when we actually, when those negative things come up or those things we don't want, we can deny power to them. But you have to put something in its place.
Oh,
If you read,
always, yes.
yeah, even if you read psychology books, and I'm not a psychologist, is that you do have to put something in its place. If you take something out, you got to put something back in there. And if you don't know what it is, you could just say, God, fill that space with love and light, or
Hmm.
something that works for you, because it isn't about what we want or what I think that works or what I feel that works. It's a matter of what you and the audience feels that works and knows that works. And then it's a practice. So you're going to keep practicing this and keep trying different ways of actually applying the prayer and working it within your own mind to make sure that
Hmm.
that happens the way that you want it, not the way that I want it or Paul wants it or some minister or guru wants it. Arthur Chadbourne said, "Guru,
Yeah.
Jew." Uh, if he was a teacher of mine in a different class, but he said, Guru is basically GURU. So you are your own guru, if you will. At least that's my thought of it. What do you think, Paul?
Yeah, and then what you said before, when you take something out, you have to replace it. So if I'm taking out fear, what am I going to replace that with? I'm going to replace it with faith. So that's replacement. So okay, I took the fear out. There's an empty vessel now. What can I fill that with? What's the opposite of
Mm.
fear? Is faith, knowing beyond doubt. And that's wonderful when we can do that for ourselves and then for other people. A lot of times people may come in and I say, well, if you don't know this for yourself, do you know that I know it for you? And they're like, oh, yeah, I know it, that you know it. I said, well, tell you what, let me know it until you can know it for yourself. And that's just enough for them to know it for themselves, knowing the
I guess,
goodness, the wholeness of who we are.
yeah, I think Reverend Marilyn said that. Let me hold that truth for you
That's
until
perfect.
you. That was a wonderful show on Show 47, the most recent one. Uh, we're at the 5 minute mark, so we got to shotgun these questions. Is how
Wow, we're 5 minute marking ourselves.
I know. How do you explain this philosophy to somebody else, Paul?
We're always at choice. As Marilyn said, our last show, a wonderful guest, that this philosophy is a philosophy of empowerment, that we're empowering ourselves by the choices that we make. And knowing that there's something greater than us that we're choosing to know, that greaterness comes back to us. How about yourself, Rich? What would you say to peeps?
God as I am, we are. Is that we're
All
not
is well.
separate from, yeah, we're not separate from the universal all, that we're all one with spirit. And then if I have I have friends that are chemists and things like that, and they go, well, I don't let. I say, well, isn't everything vibration and movement and universe all colliding? I mean, if it isn't, then it's not being held up by anything.
Mm.
So if the universe is not being held up by anything, how can you know that it's tangible?
And that's where quantum
God
physics
is,
perfectly comes in.
I can go on that. Don't get
Yeah.
me on that part. If you want to know more about us, watch us in the show. We talk about those in our previous episodes. Our backgrounds are sort of diverse on that, computers and things like that. What about what's your favorite Ernest Holmes book?
Oh my
Don't
gosh, it
say
depends.
we
It
call you.
depends on the day. Right
Yeah.
now, it would be pray without ceasing. Every moment that we have is an opportunity to be in prayer.
Hmm.
How about
I
you?
always I always go back to Rule 52. That even if you say it is, it is, and if you say it's not, it's not. I always go back to that one because that's the one that resonates with me most of the time. Is that I have the ability to change my mind and to manipulate or believe what I want to believe, and that's what makes us different in this philosophy. Is that you can believe whatever you want. You're right. Everything you
Right.
think is right.
And we're the only animals that can choose regardless of circumstances.
I don't know. My dog does not like certain things. He'll leave. But I get what you mean.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like if we're in a circumstance where we, let's say, don't like it or we're in fear, we have a
Mm.
choice whether to be in that fear or to step out of that fear. And we're the
Now we
only animals that can do that.
we didn't choose our favorite book. Again, both of us change our minds on these books. You had this thing they call Life, which I was like, ooh, check this out. I haven't read that yet.
Yeah.
So there's so many different ones that we look at and try to choose and stuff that makes sense. Just when you're on the show, choose what you want, except for the two that we normally say that everybody reads, which we already know you love that one.
Right. And they love it because it's empowerment.
It is powerful. It is very
Yeah.
powerful. Different results from prayer. We talked about that. How does spiritual mind treatment show up in your life? We talked about that.
It showed up
That's,
this prayer this morning, getting a guest who we are now the guests of the show.
that's because it made sense to do that. I mean, we're like going, well, guess Spirit said no today, or Spirit changed its mind, which makes it sort of good because the show started off as conversations and we talked about everything under the sun. There's a
Mm.
lot of changes that we've done. If you watch show one versus this show right now, you're going to see like, whoa, you guys are a little bit more polished. Well, we've been talking a little bit more. That's why we talk
And
about different things. What
we're allowing
takeaways?
spirit to come in.
There you go, Paul. What takeaways do you want our audience to take away from the show, Paul?
That we're always at choice, regardless. And that there's a higher self to you, a higher-ness we call it the law of mind, that you can always think and feel into, and that's always going to respond yes, affirmative. How about you? What
Mm.
would you want people to take away watching our show?
If you're a practitioner or you're a minister, this is your chance to have a calling card if you don't have one, or a platform. It allows you
Mm.
to come on and be yourself. It allows you to say what you want to say about the specific prayer. And then there's somebody out there watching that says, hey, I want you to be my prayer practitioner, or hey, I want you to be my reverend at my center, or hey, I want you to be part of that greater circle that I have at my audience, whatever audience that might be. Or hey, I think that would just be good just to hear a prayer from you. So because some people
Mm.
call and ask for prayers from us, a lot of people, and we do a lot of prayers for people, a lot of prayers that you can do, and you can do the prayer yourself. This isn't something where you have to go out and show up to the preacher or the priest or something and do it. This makes you self-sufficient. That this philosophy allows you to be self-sufficient and have your own spirituality. And there is no dogma and creed in it, so you don't have to sit there and bow at the altar somewhere. You can bow at your own altar by putting your hand on your heart.
Right. And your consciousness, your awareness is the key to that.
Exactly, the conscious awareness, Paul,
The conscious awareness. Very nice.
because you can be conscious and still not be aware,
And
but
you
you
can
can
be
be
aware
aware
but not
and not be
conscious.
conscious. Bum, bum, bum. The
So,
so let's. I'm Reverend Rich, Prayers Radio. This is Reverend Paul. Where can they
Reverend
find?
Paul, you can find me at IamSpiritAlive.com.
Yeah, yeah. And then we always say, well, what else do you do? And I'm like, well, I got a computer company and a few other things, and Paul does a few other things, and we
Yeah,
all
but
do. We all
we're
go ahead.
right, and we're here for prayer. We're here to understand, to accept, to know, to share. And
And that's what it's all.
would you like to pray us out, Rich?
I will, and I can.
And you can. Okay, take it away.
Let's come from a place of love, a place of recognition, recognizing that spirit is within all of us. That's as I speak my word of truth, I speak my word of truth for you inside the audience and those listening to the sound of my voice, recognizing that universal presence, that universal mind, that universal spirit is present in all of us. And I unify with that presence, knowing that right now is in everyone. And I declare right now that this show is continuous, constant, and serving and feeding the hearts and minds and souls of people that are in the sound of my voice and rippling out through the universe, knowing that we are one within spirit. We are one within that universal presence that is in all of us. declaring this, knowing this, and accepting this, and knowing this or something better that God has for us right here, right now. I give thanks and I release it into the law of action, knowing it's done. And so it is.
And so it is.
So join us next time for a fun-filled adventure. Everybody say bye.
Say yes to Spirit.
Say yes.